देवमुमापतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणं वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृडधरं वन्दे पशूनां पतिं वन्दे सूर्य शशाङ्कवह्निनयनं वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम्. So this being the last class available for our discussion today, I am looking at that which verses So let us skip a few and go to verse 21. This verse is about the success that we get in everything is because of the Adhishtan of Lord. And as an example that is given here, the substratum of God, if that is there, then it makes for the success of any big endeavor. Otherwise everything would be there, and yet the things that we do would not be conducive to success because of the absence of that one important element in it, that is God. Everything will be done meticulously, but God is not there. So that work will not be successful. And here the example is given about Daksha. Kriya Daksho Dakshaha Kratupatiradisyas Tanubhritam Rishinam Archijyam Sharanadasadasya Suragana Kratubhamshasvartaha Kratufalavidhanam vyasasino dhruvam kartu shraddha viduram abhicharaya himakha. So, the kratu means it is the sacrifice. A big endeavor had been started. Please go read the translation.
Thou giver of refuge, even the sacrifice-fair Daksha, the Lord of creation, expert in sacrifices, was the sacrificer, rishis were priests, gods were supervisors, was destroyed by thee, though thou art bent upon giving fruits of the sacrifices. Surely, the sacrifices cause injury to the sacrificers in the absence of devotion.
So, everything has been done very meticulously in the Daksha's sacrifice. Daksha wanted to attain great merit by performing the sacrifice, and but he was a hater of Lord Shiva. So he was thus not inviting Shiva for the sacrifice. The whole big sacrifice was conducted, and see, Daksha himself, as per his name, Kriya Daksho. Daksha means very meticulous. Everything was done with great care and caution, as it should have been done. And see, the description tells that, see, it is
Daksha performed sacrifice.
Yeah. It is. So he is Kriya Daksha, expert in sacrificial rites, etc. That Kriya Daksha, and his name is Daksha. So, but the Kratu, that sacrifice, was all got destroyed. Although there were all many great expert sages had been given the different works to perform, and the different devas, the demigods, they were given all the different allocations of different works was given to them. In spite of all that, the sacrifice got all destroyed. It is because this Daksha was not inviting Shiva, the one who allocates the results to all the actions that we perform. The actions we perform, they and the result, they get connected through the aspect of divine which you see, which brings that connection. Like we do something and a particular result comes from that action. This point is a bit subtle point, that how a particular action gives particular result. Who brings about that connection? There is somebody to make that connection happen. Your action is there, but then we see even in our regular life, the same action sometimes becomes successful, brings the right desired result for which it is performed. Some other time the action is done, performed, but the desired result misses. Why does it happen? Because the connecting glue is not there. The result and the action that should bring it up. So this is one of the aspects of God. Therefore, it is described by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita that karma phala data, the giver of the result of the action, that is God. That makes the action successful. So if you disrespect that, you are having, the ingredients, but the glue is not there. and so the action and the result do not get then connected, and thus the action is destroyed, gone. So it's a tricky thing that this is an ingredient of the action, but it is not visible as such. We think that yes, I have done everything right. Yes, you have done everything right, except that background on which it is to be done, that is absent. All other things have been taken well care of, but this reality, this background, this substratum being absent, they do not bring the desired result. In fact, it all gets destroyed. That is what happened to that Daksha's great sacrifice. There is all that story about it. Daksha, the father of Sati, the consort of Shiva, in her earlier form before Parvati. So, she was not actually invited for this sacrifice because she has married Shiva, and so her father was upset, and so he had cut all the relations, and so she nor Shiva were invited for this sacrifice. So that shows there was a disrespect to the glue that connects the things. So if you have, say, many elements that need to be connected, but in the absence of glue, they didn't get connected. Now the glue is not seen as such. When you see that particular piece of art or whatever, a piece of furniture, say, where the different parts are glued together. Now the glue is not visible in the furniture piece when you see it. But if there is no glue, the parts will just fall apart. They will not be the parts coming together. So this was happening there. And Sati decided that, well, it is after all my father's house, I can go any time, I don't need an invitation. Shiva tried to persuade her, don't go, you are not invited there. And in fact, you know that he hates me, and so if you go, the situation will not be very good. But Sati did not listen to the advice of Shiva and went all the way there. Now what happened there, the sacrifice was going on, but when Daksha saw that Sati had come, he started hurling abuses to Shiva. And so the army of Shiva, which had come to protect this Sati, they got upset and they destroyed the whole sacrifice. That is why the earlier verse, that where it's Tomasi Phala Yoge Kratumatam, in the earlier verse that tells that this is that what this Lord does is Kratau Supte Jagrat Tvamasi Phala Yoge Kratumatam. I wanted to just go to this to quicken the process, to go forward quickly. But that is that Lord is that who the sacrifice being destroyed, thou ever remainest the connecting link between the sacrificers and the fruit of the sacrifice. When does the destroyed sacrifice bear fruit if not accompanied by the worship of the Lord? This Lord was absent, and so everything came to a naught. It is the giver of refuge. Even the sacrifice where Daksha, the Lord of creation, expert in sacrifices, was the sacrificer. Rishis were the priests, gods were the supervisors. All that was there, but in spite of all that, it was destroyed because that being who connects these things was being disrespected. So in every action that we perform, even the relative result of that action comes by the connection of God. So that is why when we see that I did the work, but then it didn't bear the result, where somebody else did the work, same thing, the result came up. Why does it happen? Because of the absence of the divine element. So we sometimes then say, well, my stars were not right, that is why it didn't work. But it is, excuse me, that is why Sri Ramakrishna used to give an analogy that all zeros, how many they may be, they don't add up to anything. They are all right, but they are zeros. It is only when we keep one before the zero, then each zero gets its value. So all the actions, they become meaningful and valuable only when the Lord is respected in them. The verse 23rd. स्वलावण्याशं साधितधनुषमह्नाय तृणवत् पुरपृष्ठं दृष्ट्वा पुरमथनपुष्पायुधमपि यदि स्त्रैणं देवी यमनिरतदेहार्थघटनात् अवैति त्वामद्धा बत वरदमुग्धा युवतयः. This verse is not liked by women at all.
And you chose this one?
Yeah, because that is why the meaning needs to be pondered, that what is the hinted meaning. Please read.
O destroyer of Tripura, O giver of boons, even on seeing in friend the god of love, bow in hand, burnt like a piece of straw enticed by thee, if Parvati, proud of her beauty, thinks that thou art under her fascination, because she was allowed to occupy half of thy body on account of her austerities. Surely the young women are under delusion.
So it is not just about women, but it is about the that we feel that we have sway over some persons, we attract some people, we are very important to somebody, then it is really not, it is misunderstanding. It is not that anybody is really very important. So the women may think, well, that person is under my clutches, is very much attracted to me, I can swing that person around here and there. So if the person is ordinary person, it is true, because that person is attracted by the externals. But Lord Shiva how is Lord Shiva that it is that has killed the Kama itself. The Kama was just destroyed when it tried to approach Shiva. So there is that story about it, that it is, you can read the notes.
The footnote?
Yeah, Parvati.
Parvati, consort of Shiva, 2 because, etc. Parvati performed much austerity to get the love of Shiva. Taking pity at her suffering, Shiva allowed her to become a part of his body. But forgetting this act of pity on the part of Shiva, Parvati might think, like ordinary women, that she got this favor because of her fascinating beauty. In that case, she is wrong, as indicated by Shiva's burning the god of love.
The god of attraction, Kama, which because of which people, especially the opposite sexes, they get attracted to each other. That is Kama. Now Shiva, the other demigods once thought that they wanted to give Shiva birth to a son, and that son then would be powerful enough to destroy their enemies. These demigods are the most selfish. So they want that their purpose to be served, you say.
Yes.
So it is, they are fence-sitter. Tulsidas is very, very harsh upon them. In Tulsi Ramayana, he says that the gods, they fight between Rama and Ravana was going on. So they were, whenever this army of Ravana was winning a little bit, they would shower flowers on the Ravana's army. Oh, yay, very good, come on. When the Ravana's army was getting defeated, okay, then they would, so the fence-sitter, so okay, yeah, wherever the victory goes. So they wanted to defeat the Asuras, and so they were somehow told that if Shiva gives birth to a son, then that will be that son will be so powerful and would fight on their side, and they will be able to defeat the Asuras. So they tried that let Shiva be deluded by this lust, and so they told the god of lust, Kamadeva, here Pushpa Yudha, he has a bow and arrow made of flowers, so it is very beautiful, attractive to look at, and when that is hit, a person's heart all gets filled with the attraction for things, So that is how it's that weaponry hits, that pushpa yudha. So that arrow does not kill anybody as such, but figuratively speaking, well, yeah, that is what arrow. So that gets killed, attracted by form, and just the person loses all thought and goes after that enjoyment. So it is, they thought that, well, they will unleash this demigod, that Kamadeva, on Shiva. So, but what happened? Shiva just looked at that Kamadeva and that got burned. So, the idea is there has no trace of lust there. And so, even if Parvati thinks that, well, she has now gotten control over Shiva because Shiva is sharing half of his body with her, so it was out of the compassion and out of consideration for Parvati's intense desire for it that Shiva had considered that. It is not because of any attraction of Parvati. And Parvati's awareness also was like that. This is only a hint that even if Parvati thinks, then it is only because of this deluded thinking that is common with women of that type, that it is, they think that they have sway over it. Yeah, it is, I was talking to a lady the other day that, well, I had called her that, well, and she said, well, I will be busy with other things, but yeah, it is, you can't, my husband will come to see you, pick you up. So I said, but I don't have his number, can you text his number to me? Or of course I thought that if I call boss it will be done. I don't have to call him, I am calling his boss, it will be done, isn't it? She said, oh, I used to think, but now I know that nobody is anybody's boss. It is, you better take his number, you see. It is, so it is, nobody is boss. It is after so many years of marriage I have come to know that it is, so it is not that the person, that Shiva is deluded. Ordinary men, they get deluded, it is okay, yeah, what can I do, after all she is boss. So it is, ordinary men, Sri Ramakrishna says, they are all slaves. And there is a passage in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, again many women contest that, that is not the case. But it is, that passage is there that Sri Ramakrishna is telling all those men, now because women were not present in that gathering, he could speak all that. But he said, look, you all are slaves to your wives. And he gives his own example. He told that Kedar was there, you have such big moustache, but you too are slave to your wife. It is. All. And they were just sitting. What to tell you about others, even me, he pointed to him. That I wanted to go, thought of going somewhere, and I asked, he referred to Holy Mother, that Ramlal's aunt, that is Sarda Devi, that I asked Ramlal's aunt, but she said, no need to go, and I didn't go. See, then I thought, even I who do not have any connection as such, even my condition is like that, what to speak of those who live in the world, how slave they would become to their wives. He says nobody says my wife is bad, all say my wife is good. Women may be otherwise, but my wife is so good. It is. She is the boss, yeah. So, therefore, it is natural that one may come to think, but with Lord Shiva and about Parvati's whole awareness about it, that it is not that there was any attraction as such. It is without any karma. There is that other story that is found in Shiva Purana that goes with this, that all the other demigods, they were eager for Parvati's hand. So they were just making Parvati pleased, happy, so that she will choose Indra or somebody amongst them to get married. But she was not budging from her position. She wanted to marry Shiva. They tried to show to Parvati that Shiva, see what does he have, and lives in that cremation ground. Would you like, to live like that? You are daughter of the king of mountains. How luxurious had your life been? Do you want to live in that place? And he has to go and beg the food. That terrible, don't go for that. Even your parents don't like that, don't you think? So choose one of us. One of us means best will be me, but that's it is. Yeah. So it is. But if not me, somebody else amongst we gods, It is. If not Indra, Varuna could be good, It is like that. So it is. They were all pleading, but she was kind of adamant about. But again a hope got kindled in them when Shiva burnt Kama, the god of desire, god of lust, was burned by Shiva. So with that news, armed with this piece of news, they decided to approach Parvati with renewed vigor. That okay, there is now, she will yield to our request. That look, what is the point now of getting married to that fellow? He has burnt that desire. The lust has been burned by him. Now why do you want to? We are sure now you don't now think it is worthwhile to marry that fellow. And so we are here. Why don't you choose one from us? And Parvati smiled and said, well, you think that he burnt the desire, the Kama. He did not burn Kama. It is the nature of Shiva that if Kama approaches him, the Kama gets burned. It is not that there is a conscious effort on Shiva that, okay, I will burn Kama. No such. The nature of Shiva being all fulfillment, Atma, Rama, there is no desire at all. Desire cannot touch it. If desire approaches Shiva, the desire gets burned by the very nature of Shiva. Shiva did not burn Kama, and that is why I love Shiva. There is no desire there in him. It is, don't say that Shiva burned Kama. If the camphor comes near fire, the camphor gets burned. It is not that you say a fire burned the camphor. Oh, that is the nature of fire, that if camphor approaches there, it will get burnt. It is, thus Shiva, nature of Shiva is, there is no scope for lust there. And thus, I don't think that Shiva went out to burn the desire. The nature of desire and nature of Shiva is contradictory. So, our love for Shiva means automatically there is the opposite of the lust should be there. It is lust and Shiva, their love cannot go together. So Parvati says that because of this nature of Shiva, I want Shiva alone as my consort. So my consort has to be Shiva, and that is for this reason. So then another verse that to show the spontaneity, the next verse, I like this verse, that how tremendous is the auspiciousness and sanctifying power of Shiva, that Smashaneshva krida smarahara pishacha sahachara चिताभस्मालेपः स्रगविनृकरोटी परिकरः अमाङ्गल्यं शीलं तव भवतु नामैवमखिलं तथापि स्मर्तॄणां वरद परमं मङ्गलमसि. Please read.
O destroyer of the god of love, O giver of wounds, thy clay is in cremation grounds, thy companions are ghosts, thou dismissest thy body with the ashes of burnt bodies, and human skulls are thy garlands. All thy conduct indeed is thus full of evil, but thou conducest to the great good of those who remember thee.
Those, your all signs are inauspicious. That it is smashaneshu krida, that you live in smashana, and all those things that your companions, if man is known by the company he keeps. Who are your companions? Pishacha, all the ghosts are your companions. And what you do, take the ashes from there, and that is you are decorating your body. Apply that ash to your body. Then your ornaments, nirkaroti parikara, that human skulls, you just put garlands of human skull around you. And this all, amangalyam sheelam, your all the external conduct, how is it? Amangalyam, inauspicious. Just imagine, if a person bearing that kind of look walks in here, you will just see somehow that person is turned out, such, we don't want such people. See how uncivilized that were, just putting on some kind of a skin around, the body is all smeared with ashes, the hair is matted like that, never ever have taken shower in life, I think, and all. But the purity is so overpowering in spite of all these things. The inner purity is so much that somebody who just remembers him, all auspiciousness, all that is conducive to good gets bestowed on that person just by remembrance. So, tathapi smartrinam, those who remember Lord Shiva, Varada Paramam, the translation does not bring all that beauty of these words. Varada Paramam Mangalam Asi. You grant the Varadam, what the boons, and whatever the greatest auspiciousness, Paramam Mangalam Asi, the highest auspiciousness, Mangala, is bestowed upon them who just remember you, in spite of your all signs, all the things associated with you are considered inauspicious by people here, yet your nature is like that. Think of, something that is gold. Gold, even if it is given the shape of something that is not liked by people. Suppose you don't like a person, hate that person very much, and suppose somebody brings a gold statue of that person. That suppose Jingli doesn't like, she was telling about somebody she doesn't like at all. Now a gold statue of that person is brought and given to her. And after all, it is gold, it is very valuable, isn't it? I may not like that person, but yeah, that is as gold. Who cares for the forms, you say? It is gold. So, similarly, that the very nature of Shiva, in spite of the external decorations or the lack of it, is very valuable. It is going to bring the most desired boons for that person. So, the next verse. Mana pratyakchitte savidham avadhayat marutah prahishyadro manah pramad salilot sangita vrisha yada lokyadhadam radati vanimajjam ritamahe dadhatyantas sattvam kimapi yaminas kila bhavan. Thou
art indeed that unspeakable truth which the yogis realize through meditation on the self, on controlling the breath according to the scriptural directions, and realizing which they shed tears of thrilling joy and swimming, as it were, in a pool of nectar, enjoy inner bliss.
That is your nature. That although your appearance is like this, that is what Shravani was asking, how the image of Shiva that we see, that is, and the Shiva that is the essence of auspiciousness and essence of consciousness, are they same? Well, through the form you go to the formless. How people came to think of this form of Shiva? Because the signs of external poverty and all that is not considered very good in the society, and that is combined together with all that is good in that form. It is like the Ganges in the locks of Shiva. It is an act of compassion by Shiva. He is always ready to grant the people what is when it is prayed for. They needed water on this earth. So it is said Ganges had to be brought from heaven. But the Ganges was not coming. There is this in Puranas, that story of Bhagirath, that how generations worked to get that Ganges from heaven to earth. So that Bhagirath ultimately found success in persuading the Ganges to come. But then came the question that the Ganges, its flow, current was very, very powerful. How that current could be tamed so that it will become, steady flow, and we will be able to use that water. Otherwise it will be just a big rushing torrent that will just take everything in its flood. It will destroy everything. So now Ganges is ready to come to earth, but how to restrict its flow? So Shiva said, okay, let it first fall on my locks. There it will circulate, and all its that extra power that will be tamed. So it is actually a very beautiful analogy to Himalaya, where through, in those hills, the Ganges, it goes through that. Gradually its flow is tamed. And thus when it comes to, say, Haridwar, now you can really make use of that water. Till then it is very turbulent, very strong is the current. You cannot stand and take a swim in that current. Water is not therefore easy to be used. So it goes in all these Himalayan regions, and there it gets cooled. So that is projected as Shiva's head, the locks, and then in that it flows. Then there is the fellow has put on a snakes as garland. It is. So Shiva, so many nice poems and songs about Shiva, Gangadhara. It is. Ganga is being held by Shiva. So it is. And why Shiva goes to do that? For the welfare of the world. Okay. You sit, you flow from there. It is. And there is that snake that is there. Then there is the crescent moon there that also is sitting. These are all signs connected with various stories in the Puranas, in the epics that describe that form of Shiva. He is like that, and it is you are indeed the unspeakable truth. This form, you take various the different pictures of Shiva, and they are all indicate the formless and the ultimate aspect of it, that is the truth. It is the absolute truth. Thou art indeed that unspeakable truth. It is, and the yogis realize that truth through meditation on the self. So as that truth you are residing in the hearts of all, on which the yogis meditate, and on controlling the breath according to the scriptural directions. and realizing which they shed tears of thrilling joy and swimming as it were in pool of nectar enjoy inner bliss. So you are that Satchidananda, and that very thing can be realized by worshipping you with all heart, because you are that. It is like you eat sugar in various forms. So like you are, say, you put sugar in your coffee or tea, and you are taking in sugar, and you are eating a candy, you are taking in sugar. Sometimes people who get dehydrated and then they have to be immediately given sugar and salt, so that is to be intravenously given to them for a very quick result. And that it is in our mobile dispensary we used to keep that 25 milliliter sugar syringe. That sugar is to be pushed intravenously when that is dipped to that extent. So it in various ways the sugar gets pushed in. The effect is getting sugar in. So Shiva is that, worship of Shiva is one way of realizing the truth. So because you are that, Tvam Arkastvam Soma, Tmasi Pavanastvam Hutavaha, Tvam Apastvam Yoma, Tvam Dharanir-atma, Tvamiti cha, Parichinnam evam, Tvai Parinata Bibhyati giram, Na vidmastattvam tvam, Vayamihatu yattvam na bhavasi. Yes, thou art the sun, all these deities, that is, you read the translation?
The wise hold this limiting opinion about thee. Thou art the sun, thou art the moon, thou art the fire, thou art the air, thou art the water, thou art the space, thou art the earth, and thou art the self. But we do not know that thing which thou art not.
That is the important thing. We do not know the thing which you are not. You are this. But it is not limited to these things. Like in those legal documents, you read many such, in the contracts that you sign, that it includes this, but not limited to. So it is, you sign all that, but not without any limitation. So similarly, it is told that you are the sun, you are the moon, you are the skies, you are the fire, you are the air, you are the water, thou art the space, thou art the earth, and thou art the self. All important big things are told, but then only these are told, not like that. There is nothing that you are not. You are all that is described, and everything that is not described. That also we do not know anything that thou art not. God is everything. So it is, everywhere is your glory. All describes your glory. To a devotee, it appears like that everything is the expression of God. God is filled in every particle. So that which is not God is not there. So to show the all-pervading nature of the divine, that you are the self, and you are here and you are everywhere. So that oneness becomes the matter of direct experience through this meditation on Shiva. you begin with form. But if your meditation is right, you quickly transcend the form and then see that divine in its that pervasive aspect, that it is everywhere. Earlier you may think of God limited to the shrine, that yes, God is here in the shrine. But if you continue worshipping that Lord, you will start feeling the presence of God in your heart. That is how it happens through love. You feel the presence of the beloved wherever you are, in you, around you. You always feel that your beloved is with you. And thus, that which was confined to a particular shrine or in a particular form, you see that presence everywhere. So it is. Next verse also gives that idea that Turiyam te dhama. It is your region is actually beyond these states. We had some discussion earlier about everything getting divided into three, tridha. So it is told here in a little more details. Trayi tisro vritti tribhuvanam atho trina isura akararyai varnai Pritiravidadhartirna vikriti Turiyam te dhama Dhvanivirvarundham manubhi Samastam vyastam tvam Sharanadagrinatromiti padam. Read the translation.
O giver of refuge, with the three letters A, U, B, indicating the three Vedas, three states, three worlds, and three gods. The word Om mentions these separately. United by the subtle sounds, the word Om collectively mentions these, thy absolute transcendent state.
So, you will see in Upanishads also, this word Om is described as both. And both are together always. Not that this Om is different from that Om. It is when Nachiketa understood that this is the goal to be realized, he asked the Guru, the teacher, okay, now you see this. Now, yat tat pashyasi tad vada. Now give me a means to realize that it is, I understood now, but now give me a tangible means that I can practice. Give me a sadhana that I should be doing. So then this Yamaraj gives him Om, that Sarve Veda Yad Padama Mananti Tapansi Sarvani Cha Yad Vadanti. That this is I am giving you, that for which all the austerities are performed, all the gods, they converge at this point. And yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti, getting which or to get which all people live a life of austerity, control and continence. I will tell you in brief. Tatte padam sangrahena pravakshe Om iti etat. That Om is that Om iti etat, and that iti etat is, it connotes there that nothing more is needed. That's it. Iti etat means that's it. Nothing further is needed. To tell, this is told because when it tells that just one letter Om, will it do? It is, there must be something more. Tell me a few more things. That it is one letter and that, do you think that that is enough to realize God? So to tell that that's enough, that is sufficient. Do not need any further elaboration. Om iti etat. It contains everything. And then the next verse says, Yad ichchasi tasya tat. That it is, this Om is the absolute truth. It is also the relative truth. Whatever you want from it, you will get. To the extent that you want to climb the stairs, and the stair goes up to the roof. But if you don't want to climb up to the roof, you can use that staircase still to go to some intermediate level as well. And that they are the relative things in this world that you will get by using it. So, Uma, they describe the three worlds or the three states of our perception, that is, this Uma separately. And together, combined, it is the transcendent state of Lord's, all pervading that divine nature. It is beyond all conception, turiya. So this is how the sound is described here, that the sound is in this way. When you break the sound into components, they describe something. Together they describe the essence of all that. So Om together is God. If you break it, well, you will have the different aspects of God in the relative world. There is nothing that is not God, as he mentions in the previous verse, that all that is God. There is, I don't know anything that is not God. Everything is God. But if you want to realize God in its ultimate form, that is therefore called fourth. Otherwise it is divided in the three relatives. Three, that the perceiver, the perceived, and the connection between the two, perceiver and perceived. So this is in three states. It is divided in three times. It gets divided as it says Trayi, and that it is Uma, indicating the three Vedas. Those days, this is an old text. So three Vedas were considered. Atharva Veda was still not there. So Rik, Yaju, Sama, and these were the Vedas. Some say it is Rik, Yaju, Atharva. Sama was mainly meant to for the singing, chanting, reciting these Vedas, but the opinion mainly turns towards this Rik, Yaju, Sama. You read it in other places also, Rik, Yaju, Sama, three Vedas. In Bhagavad Gita also, it therefore is Traividya. It is the three Vedas. So it is, and the three worlds and the three gods. Means it is the three gods are, it is Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra. Here the Shiva is not called because Shiva is shown as the Mahadeva, the Supreme Lord. So the aspect of Shiva, which is the destroyer aspect, is called Rudra here. So it is the three states the word Om mentions. These separately are like that. But united is a different word than added. In addition, they are still separately but kept together. But united means they lose their separate identities. They are kind of combined together. So they have lost their separate identities, and thus it describes collectively. It means this it is as that subtle sound which cannot be uttered. So that is the fourth. It is that subtle sound means it is not the struck sound, unstruck sound, which is called in Sanskrit anahata. Anahata, ahata means when two objects strike, they make sound. Did it make sound? Okay. When my vocal cords and the tongue they strike, that we speak, and the sound is heard. So these are all struck sound. That you therefore say struck the chord, so that made the sound. So these are all struck sounds. When you breathe, again there is the sound that comes, and when the breathing is more labored, more sound comes. Less breathing happens, but more sound comes. So it is because of the striking of the membranes, so you hear that sound. It is the struck sound. But then there is the basis of the struck sound, that is the unstruck sound. This is the subtle sound, which is a variety of that comes out when there is two objects strike together. But the basis, it is not easy. One has to really meditate on this and use the power of abstract thinking to see this basic sound, of which all the varieties of struck sounds are only partial expressions. It is these partial expressions, they indicate the unified abstract expression of it. For example, we do this abstract thinking all the time. We say, okay, this human beings, what is human beings? Well, here he is human being, she is a human being, and there are so many human beings on the earth that there are 7.2 billion members of this species. All put together, it gets called as humanity. Humanity is an abstraction of this variety of human beings. We understand that. So think of this, that all sounds, they are just as Shiva Yogi is an expression of humanity. So Joan is another expression of humanity. Swami is another expression of it. It is all these are human being expressed in particular form. So imagine the substratum of all that. Similarly, this is a sound. Then I am speaking, that is a sound. When a bell is rung, that is a sound. When lightning strikes, that is a sound. Now imagine the sound in its all-encompassing nature, where these varieties are removed. Do you can you think of it? Just as human being, remove the variety of the facial appearance, remove the height differences, the weight differences, the appearance differences, the skin color differences. Remove all that which is specific to one member of that humanity. Remove the specifics and you get the general all-encompassing idea of a human being. So when you teach a human being, then in the biology courses, okay, now let us study human body. So it is not a particular human body, but in general study human body. That it is like you prove the theorems in geometry about say triangle. The sum of 3 angles of a triangle is 2 right angles. So the teacher would draw a triangle on the board, but it is not proved just for that triangle. It is a concept called triangle for which this has been proved. So similarly, think of that basic sound of which every struck variety is only one expression. So that sound is the nada, nada Brahma. So that is the Om together. All these are then merged into that sound Om. So individually they are all these trifurcated existence with that together Om. It transcends all varieties and encompasses all varieties too. So it is that reality. You are that, O Shiva, that this whole world is your expression. Everything and beyond. It is this is a spiritual practice, friends. The spiritual practice means actually training the mind to think and act in a spiritual way. Means what is the difference between our perception and Thakur's perception? Say Sri Ramakrishna is seeing something. If Sri Ramakrishna is seeing this lady, he will also say Pushpa, and I also would say Pushpa. We see the same thing and no difference as such. He would also see that she is holding a book like this, and like I would see, or anybody else would see, that he will also describe the color of the dress that she has put on. All you others also will see it like that, but there is a difference. Our seeing will begin and end there. Sri Ramakrishna will see this, but much more, that it is divine, God expressing as Pushpa. We have to, the practice should be like that. When we perceive something, let the mind, along with the particular shape, name, should also see it as an expression of divine. This is the training that we have to give. This is the essential training To be spiritual means this, to be able to see this divine aura around each and every being. Each and every person has that divine element. And that is to be seen, just as every wave is an expression of the ocean. You stand before the ocean and you see the waves rising and falling. That is the expression. Every wave, isn't it the expression of ocean? So, similarly, every appearance that we come across is an expression of Shiva. Shiva is expressing himself, or what, there is no particular pronoun that can be associated with Shiva, and that is Shiva expressing in all these variety of forms. This is the awareness of this Pushpadanta, and therefore he brings it in this praise. Now we are up to what, 4:30? No, 4 p.m. So we don't have much time.
Page 41.
Maharaj,
Page 40.
What?
that gives us another incentive for you to come back and finish those.
Not this time, not extend by 20 minutes.
No, that's not way above my pay grade.
Huh?
I don't know anything about it.
You can't, yes, that question is beyond your pay grade.
Yes,
But
yes.
if we give you a raise,
Maharaj is so hard.
okay.
It's like love of Shiva.
Okay. So, this is, up to the verse 29, it is the main body of the Shivamahimna Stotram. It is concluded that the verses after that are composed later and added by somebody else. It is, the meter also changes, the language, the other expressions also change a little bit. So, but they are very good verses. They might have been, certainly they are composed by somebody else and added, but they are very beautiful verses. So, let us read a couple of them. Bahularaj se, this is 30th. Bahularaj se vishvodpattau bhavaya namo namah prabalatam se tatsamhare haraya namo namah janasuprakrite sattvodriktau haraya namo namah Pranamasi pade nishtari gunye Shivaya namo namaha. So, it is salutations to Brahma, in whom Rajas predominates for the creation of the universe. It is that Bahula Rajase, so for creation, you require lot of activity, isn't it? And to destroy, that much work is not needed to be done. To create, you require lot of work. When we were having our construction, one house needed to be demolished. So, and I was telling that how much cost will it have, and I got a quote for demolishing. So it was a minor thing, So I said, well, in $15,000 that fellow is ready to pull down everything, take out, and then the engineer said, well, demolition doesn't require much cost. Building requires cost. It is do not so that. Okay, bringing it down 15,000 and erecting it another 15,000, not like that. It is so not much rajas is required to bring down. Rajas is required to make. So creation requires lot of rajas. So Brahma is endowed with lot of rajas. Bahula rajase vishvotpattau. That bhavaya namo namaha. So in whom rajas predominates, preponderates for the creation of the universe. Salutations to Rudra, in whom tamas preponderates for the destruction of the same. And destruction, you do not need to be very careful and all that. Bring that big, that bulldozers and such things. Okay, finish. So, prabala tamase, there this tamas preponderates, and then and sattva, it is salutations to Vishnu, in whom sattva preponderates for giving happiness to the people. Salutations to Shiva, who is effulgent and beyond the three attributes. It is all these three gunas are playing, sattva, rajas, tamas, on this three, the Shiva, who is beyond all these three states of appearance. So it is it creator? Yes, but not limited by creation. Is it sustainer? Yes, but not limited by just sustenance. So all that, is it destroyer? Yes, but again not limited by it. So this is the nature of Shiva is being described there. And then this is a famous verse that gets quoted very often, that your qualities cannot be enumerated at all. It is just the poetic imagination makes this verse very popular. Asita giri samam syar kachalam sindhu patre surataruvar shakha lekhani patramurvi likhati yadi grihitva sarada sarvakalam tadapi tava gunanam isha param nayati. So, please read, O Lord.
O Lord, if the blue mountain be ink, the ocean the ink pot, the branch of the heavenly tree be pen, the earth the writing leaf, and by taking these, if the goddess of learning writes for eternity, even then the limit of thy virtues will
not be reached. So, you are beyond description. That is what is meant there. That in spite of, even if all this is given, we will not be able to describe your qualities. Then the other verses are like what is called Falashruti, that if you recite it, then this will happen to you, then all you will get that it is Diksha, Danam, Tapasti, this is 36th one. And that Mahimnas Tava Pathasya Kalanaramti Shorashim, that getting initiation into the spiritual life, charity, austerity, pilgrimage, knowledge of the scriptures, the performance of the sacrificial rites, these do not give 1/16th part of the merit that is got by reciting the hymn of the greatness of Shiva. This is really that in eulogy, these things our composers really excelled. That it is describing what happens by reciting this, and then everything is granted there, It is that recite Ramakrishna Stotra and Papagni Sarvakamadham. It is all the sins are completely destroyed, and Sachirayu Sukhi Putri Vijayi Vinayi Bhavet. So it is the fellow acquires the supreme just by reciting Ramakrishna Stotram. And if you recite it with all that due respect and reverence, with all your mind put in it, that could happen. These things never get tested, because you may say that it is because it is always vacuously applied, that it is we were having in Providence some political, that one gentleman came, was a Republican, and recently that Bush had won the election, so he was kind of happy, and our Joan, a staunch Democrat, said that is because of the voting fraud. And she was naturally very, first of all, upset because their candidate had lost, and moreover she said that there are because of fraud, the Republicans won. And this man calmly said, well, then we can't win at all, isn't it? We should not even then contest elections, because if we lose, we lost anyway. And even if we win, you are going to say that we won because of fraud. So it is lose-lose situation for us. So it is with this recitals, if that result comes, it is well and good, but if it doesn't come, you must have recited it, with some mistake, not with perfection, and maybe your face was not exactly in the right direction, or your mind might have been thinking of something else. So, therefore, the desired result did not come. So it is, but the idea is that certainly if you recite it, gradually our mind gets purified, and we see that the glory of Shiva starts reflecting in us. It is, I used to recite it. I can guarantee that, well, at least in my case, none of those Putravan, Kirtiman, all did not come. It is said that reciting these, all that happens, it didn't happen. But it is also true that the other benefits, they gradually seep in. That your reverence for that supreme nature of Shiva becomes more pronounced. Your understanding about it becomes more clear. You start feeling more devotion, and thus whatever happened to Pushpadanta, it is said that afterwards, after this recital, the conclusion is that he got back his nature of being the god of celestial beings. He became the Gandharvaraj again. So, but what we can think of it is that our true nature is divine. Because of ignorance, we get deviated from that true nature, and then recital of this, thinking of this, will restore that true nature of our being divine, will get restored to us. So this hymn is this discussion at least is concluded because of the Shiva is Lord of Time. So it is we exceeded the time by a few minutes. What can they have the liberty to ask question? Okay. If you have any questions,